If that makes sense.
Now, one part of the business that you're going to be able to give the people watching this video is you were in an arena, the daytime television arena, where you were put into a stratosphere where you had to deal with having to interact a lot with the fans. And so you were put out there in the public eye. What kind of advice can you give to somebody who is not starting out, but if they get into that zone where they're going to be at appearances? And I mean, you did a lot of public appearances when you were on the show, so your face was out there a lot, and that obviously helped with your popularity, I'm sure, because people saw that you were a personable human being, and you wanted to interact with the fans at the show.
Well, someone said to me once, and this is not just limited to daytime. Someone said, I mean, this is daytime television is such an American institution. It's been on. It's the longest type of show, longest running type of show. Our favorite shows today, Grey's Anatomy, Gossip Girl, they are soaps. They're on prime time. But this was a genre invented years ago, and it has been sustained because of fans. So someone explained to me that the time you spend with these people is very important because they will make or break you. They will be the reason you stay or leave. And so once I was asked back, I knew that a big chunk of that had to do with these people that I had never met, but that would have the opportunity to meet. And I would say, whether it's a Broadway show, whether it's a primetime television show, if you have the opportunity or someone comes up to you and says, I really appreciate your work, or, why not? I mean, that's the reason why we do this in the first place. I take that very seriously, and I'm someone, I get very starstruck. So if I see someone I recognize and am excited, I can't say anything to them. And it's my own nervousness. And I put myself in their shoes because I have, in certain instances, been in their shoes. And I would say, I would love it if someone came to me and said, I'm sorry the show's over. I really liked your work, and it means the world to me. Because I have my television shows too. And if I met anyone, I would be over the moon. So I take it very seriously, and it means a lot to me. I mean, I love spending time with these people because not only are they the reason why I still have a job, but also selfishly, I'm an actor, and I like it when people appreciate what I do. And I mean, I think an actor would be lying if they said they didn't have an ego, but you got to keep that ego in check. So I have those in my life, my close friends that sort of pull me back down to earth, but especially with daytime, it's been very important for me to recognize who these people are and that they have given me something special. I mean, this show changed my life, and like I said, prepared me for whatever's around the corner.
It's funny that you mentioned ego, because of anybody that I've had the interaction with, you would probably be the last person that I would use ego as a word. What keeps you grounded and humble, and what advice would you have to other actors to stay humbled? And because there's not a difference in your attitude that I can see from when I first met you, from when you first started, to now when your popularity has grown on the show.
I appreciate that. Well, part of it, first of all, is knowing that every job must end. And you can be, and I've seen people be at the top of their game 1 minute and then be unemployed the next. And I know that happens, and it happens to the best. And every actor always thinks that they've just done their last job. And I read a quote, I'm a big fan of Justified, and the lead, Timothy Olyphant, says, we always think that it's our last gig, the one we just did. And I'm a huge fan of his. From Deadwood, Justified, I think he's one of the greatest TV actors. But he's been at that point too. And yeah, I'm a big Breaking Bad fan, and Bryan Cranston, after Malcolm in the Middle, is probably going, this show's over, what am I going to do next? And he books Breaking Bad, and that's when he blows up even more. So I know that we are always at the mercy of what happens next. And I had a great support system growing up. My parents, very supportive. My dad always said, unfortunately and fortunately, we are only as good as yesterday's success. So you could ride on that, you could say, I've done this, this, and this, but then you're always looking backwards. And the important thing is to look forwards. It doesn't mean you don't appreciate these things, but it means that you never know. And I would rather be humbled in silence and in the comfort of my own home than publicly. And I mean, you never know how things are going to happen. My girlfriend booked the show Ghost the last day I shot One Life to Live, and it was so much of a, I mean, it was like fate, you know,
Right.
it would happen that way. And it was kind of like, some people have described it as like passing the baton, like now it's your turn.
Right.
And it also means, you know, she went through a time, I'm sure she'll explain this to you also, she went through a time where she went about a year without having solid work in this business and was doing the survival job thing, which I know everybody has to pay their dues, but after a while it gets very difficult. So for that to happen for her on the day I was finished, made it less about, you know, this show's over, what am I going to do? And understanding that it's okay to relish in other people's successes and be happy for them, because what's the alternative? The alternative is that you sit and you moan and groan about it. And you know, there's times for that, but I believe there's a solid difference between bitching and venting. And you gotta vent. It's healthy. But I'm a bright sider. There's actually a quote that I found. This is a quote. I was in a casting office and they had all these papers lined out of all these different quotes. And this is the quote that I picked up. That I don't know this man. His name is Mike Dooley, and this is kind of what's got me through the last couple months. If you look for what's right in others, in relationships, in yourself, your career, and your journey, you'll always find it. And it's the same thing when you look for what's wrong. Meaning that at some point it's a choice to say, it's not a I'm optimistic and everything's fine and roses. It's I'm choosing to look at it this way for now because the alternative would just bring you farther down. But I would call myself an optimistic person, and I say, you know, let's look at what's next. You know, there's got to be something else. There's got to be something around the corner. I could go, well, that's over. What am I going to do? You know what I mean? It's at one point it's a choice, and I believe that you project that in your personality, and you have to be careful, especially if you just were given something important. And I believe that everything is a springboard to the next. So for me to take one life and that experience there and not see it for what it is, as a springboard, and go, it's over, I'm done. I don't see the alternative. I just don't see how that is helpful.
And speaking of a springboard, what are you going to be looking to do now that you're obviously going to have to stay in New York now? Well, you don't have to stay in New York, but with your girlfriend being on Broadway, are you going to look into doing something on stage?
I would love to. Stage is where I started. I haven't done a show on stage in almost, well, it's been 3.5 years, and I would love to go back. We're in the middle of.
Is there a role that you really are dying to do?
It's one of those. It's like I'll know when I see it.
Yeah.
I haven't done musicals in a long time, and there's roles that I would like to do that I may not be able to sing.
Right.
And that's kind of like about doing, just straight plays, is that the only thing that holds you back is up here. So you're not limited by that. And I would love to get into some solid theater. We're in the middle of pilot season right now. It's March, so it's been actually a busier time than it was when I was on the show. I mean, sometimes 7 or 8 auditions within a period of like 3 days. And that means you're at home memorizing at night and then going to the auditions the next day. And trying to make informed decisions about the character and all these things. And it could be, I had stubble one day. And they want a guy who's clean shaven. Now I can shave, but that guy already has stubble, and that's the look we want. So there's so many subjective things with film and TV that are maybe a little bit more, we can see where that'll go with stage, because it's not as close. So part of me when I came back from Christmas was just interested in doing something that's of this business, but not necessarily in this business. So I signed up for a playwriting class just to keep my creative juices flowing. That's been really fun, just as an outlet to do something else. Writing is something I like to do, and I don't know how serious I am about it, but it's a good exercise for anybody, no matter what field they're in. But yeah, lately my life has been just a lot of auditioning, and we did some post One Life to Live things, but trying to stay busy. I think that's the most important thing, and it's hard to do when this is all you want to do. Is to stay busy and stay fulfilled in other areas of your life. That my dad described it as it's like a soundboard, And there's these different levels of, the different channels. You can turn this channel up all the way, and it's really loud. Nothing will ever always be up all the time. You got this channel up, and this channel's on simmer, for lack of a better term. So it's knowing to recognize when that is happening. It doesn't mean you're always content. It doesn't mean that you're always excited. But knowing that this is part of it, makes it easier, I think.
Are you interested, since you were on a soap for so long doing such, dramatic stuff, or, over dramatic stuff at sometimes, are you interested in doing comedy at all?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Comedy is, I think, what I sunk my teeth into, in high school and the beginning of college. I didn't start playing leading man roles until I got into college and started, bulking up. I used to be this scrawny kid from Alaska that nobody really, they thought, oh, he's doing his quirky guy thing.
Yeah.
And so, ironically, what I was doing on the show was so completely distant from what I've always known. I mean, I grew up on, my dad showed me Jerry Lewis movies, and it was always about comedy. It was always about, which can be very dramatic. And I feel like some of the greatest actors do both. There's such a fine line between them. I'm a huge fan of Jack Lemmon, who I think is one of the funniest actors, but also one of the most heartbreaking when he does his serious stuff. Robin Williams, same thing today. He's that kind of guy that has unbelievable comic chops, but is one of the best dramatic actors. Good Will Hunting, for example. So, I mean, I'd be lying if I don't want to say this. I'd be lying if I didn't say I want to do it all. Sky's the limit. I'd like to try it all.
Cool. Thank you so much for taking the time to do this. It's been fantastic.
Absolutely.